I got a biggie today. This one, I am 5'10", and this one is 58 inches, almost 5 feet tall. That's really tall for a dresser, but it's a beauty. Let me show you. So here's the piece. It's a beautiful vintage French Provincial. So I love this style. I haven't done it before, but you can see there's some beautiful wood underneath that finish on the drawers. Obviously on the top, I've got quite a bit of like dings and scratches and all kinds of stuff. So we'll see what I can do with that. The biggest problem is on the base where I have a lot of missing molding. So I do have some damage on the drawers where you can see I'm missing some veneer that I'll have to fill in. But really the bottom, that's my main problem. And I don't really have like a way to recreate wood moldings. So I can do a mold and try to do like Bondo, but that's going to be my biggest challenge is what am I going to do with those moldings? I'm either deciding, do I take off the moldings, edit them? Do I try to recreate some of the moldings? So that's my predicament with this piece. So I did some research on this style and I actually came across a piece that I thought was beautiful. And you might be mad at me, but I think I'm going to paint the body of it, or at least some of it, because I could recreate some of those moldings, edit some moldings, paint it, and then I could really make that top and the drawer shine by stripping those back. So I think the inspiration piece is beautiful and that's what I'm going to go for. So I'll start by filling in some of the areas on the drawers that had missing veneer. I'm just using a 2-part epoxy stick by Mohawk. It's colored a little bit closer to the wood color. I'll fill that in and then I'll sand it smooth and work on color correction as I go through the process. I'm going to strip the drawers, so I like to protect those holes so that it doesn't drip through. I'm using Green Ease. This is a great non-toxic stripper. Non-toxic strippers do take a little bit longer sometimes to work, but I find because they're safer, I'm willing to go a few extra hours if need be. So I'll just let it kind of set, do its thing, and then I'll come back very gently with my carbide scraper. I'm using it more like a putty knife. I'm not really scraping and digging into the wood, but it does help me get down to raw faster. So I'll pull it back with it, and then I'll continue trying to clean off as much of that finish as possible with 2/0 steel wool and acetone. So here's all the moldings that I'm missing. So I have a big chunk on that side. You can see as I go around, I'm missing a lot on that middle, and then I'm missing an entire piece right there. So I'm just kind of assessing it to decide, okay, what part can I recreate and what part am I just going to have to maybe edit? You can see those areas on the ends, they must have gotten a lot of damage, maybe like from vacuum cleaners or something that was pushed up against it because it's loose and it's missing on the side. So I'm considering just cutting it off. But for now, I'll go ahead and do a scuff sand on the body and get it prepped for primer and paint. I'm just using a high grit. This is 180, you could do 220. I'm just scuffing up the surface and preparing it for the primer so I have good adhesion. So this side was already missing the big chunk at the bottom. So I'm just going to kind of edit it a little bit with my chisel. I'm just going to kind of sculpt it a little bit and try to make them look the same on both sides. I know you might be freaking out, but it's going to look okay. I'm really pretty confident that it's going to look good. So I'm going to recreate what I can, and then I'm going to edit where I feel like I can't recreate, and then we'll see what it looks like.
I created a mold with a two-part system that I'm going to try to use it to fill in some of the areas on the other side. So I have a little mold here. I'm going to fill it with Bondo, and then I will attach it and try to blend it in. One of the molds for the bottom, I actually took it from the wrong area. I had to really do a mirror image of it, so one of them didn't work, but the side piece worked really well. That's that small little area on the side, and then this is the large area on the one side, and honestly, it's such a big mold, it didn't work. You can see when I took it out, well, it broke, and so that's going to be my deciding factor. I'm just going to take them off. I'm not going to try to recreate it. It didn't work. Sometimes I try, and if it doesn't work, I just pivot and move on to another solution. I'm going to strip the top with the greenies as well. I think I can get the top down to raw, sand it smooth. I think it'll look beautiful. So we're going to try that. For the drawers, since I've already stripped them, I'm going to do a 80 grit with my orbital sander. Once I have that first rough sand, then I'll follow that up with 120 and then 180, and then I will pause and decide how I want to finish them. Okay, here we go. I decided since I can't recreate this, I'm just going to take it off. So I'm using a little saw and I'm just going to take it off so that it matches the other side, and then I'll fill it in. And I really think once I paint it, you're not even going to be able to tell. Well, you might because you know what it looked like in the beginning, but I don't think anybody else will really know. We'll see. So this one is completely missing, but I have the only one that I have that's similar is facing it is this one, and it's actually a little bit bigger. So this is the two-part putty system to do the mold. You take equal parts, you knead it together, and then I'm going to put it on here, let it dry, and then when you pull it off, that's when you can put the Bondo on. Now this is going to be too big, and so I'm really going to have to work on shaping this to make it work. because this piece is larger than where I'm actually putting it, I'm going to have to use like my Dremel, and then you'll see I'll use my sandpaper and all kinds of little tools just to try to kind of mold it to be close to what a matching one looks like on the other side. So this is the best I can do. I don't have fancy tools or big old workshops. So sometimes you just work with what you have and try to do the best that you can. So this part was glued. I'm going to sand it smooth. I'll add some glazing Bondo just to continue to smooth out that area so that when I prime and paint it, you won't be able to tell. And for this area, I'm going to you'll see I'll go through the process of fitting it, gluing it, and then sanding it and sculpting it with a small Dremel in order to just try to make it match the corresponding one on the other side. I would. That's what I was thinking. Well, it's not perfect, but it's better. It's better than nothing being there, right? So I'm going to move on to the hardware. I like to soak my hardware in boiled water and vinegar. Then I'll use some 4/0 steel wool and really get them polished up. After the whole body has been scuff sand, I'm ready to prime and paint. So I'm just going to wash it down with some clean water, make sure I have all the sanding dust off, and then I'll be ready to do my priming. I'm using 123 primer by Ben, and it is a water-based primer. It's actually tinted gray. I'll do 2 coats of this, sanding lightly, doing a light scuff sand in between, dusting off any kind of, dust nibs, and then I'll move on to paint. After my first coat of primer, I always have little areas that reveal where I need to kind of do some extra fill. So I'll use some glazing Bondo. It's really good for very shallow areas that you can just fill in little nicks or anything like little scratches. And then I am going to use some caulk where the molding meets the bottom of the dresser. I'm just going to fill that area in, and then it is paintable within 30 minutes. I'll sand that smooth, and if I've already done my second coat of primer and I have some glazing Bondo, then I'll just go back with a little bit of spot primer, and in this case I'm just using a can of the 123 primer, and I'll just make sure I spray over that, and then I can move on to my paint. So for the first coat I used Advanced Paint by Benjamin Moore in the color White Dove. This has a 16-hour recoat time, so it's not the ideal paint to use, but it is beautiful and it lays down very well. I'm using my Erlex 5700. This is a great all-metal gun and puts down a beautiful finish. It is a 2-turbine, so I don't have to connect it to an air compressor. It has its own little motor, but really easy to clean, really easy to use. I love it. I'm going to try a whitewash on the drawers, and I'm using Cashmere by Fusion Mineral Paint. I'm doing a 1:7 ratio, so I'm watering it down quite a bit just to see if I like it. I'm watering it down quite a bit because the method I like to use on my washes is I usually just apply it and then I let it dry, and I do not wipe it back typically, and I let the water evaporate.
Here's where I'm at on the tall boy. So I have whitewashed these drawers, and then I added an antique oak stain by General Finishes on these. So I think that's better, but I still think it obscures the grain too much. I mean, this is a beautiful wood grain pattern, and yes, it's pretty, but I just feel like I need to highlight that grain more. I feel like it's making it too mute. And I feel like the paint needs to not be so stark. I feel like it needs to be more of like an off-white. So my first 2 attempts, not so good. So I'm going to mix up a little bit darker paint, and then I'm going to strip these drawers and see what I can do.
So that method wasn't working for me. For some reason, it just really absorbed the paint wash. Usually that method works great, But in this particular case, it didn't. And so I'm just going to strip them back, which is sad because I just did them. But it does come off pretty quickly. I should have shellacked them first just to seal them so that it didn't absorb so much into the wood. So I had to strip them, and then I had to get acetone out, and because the paint wash settled into the wood grain, and it still wasn't great. So then I had to bleach them after that with oxalic acid. So it caused me a lot more work than I really anticipated. And even before that, I didn't even show you, but I did try a hard wax oil that was white, and it didn't work either. So I've already done 2 methods so far, and I don't love them. So I definitely felt that that white dove was too much. So I have some other paints I'm going to try to mix up. So I have a white and I have like a safari beige. And I'm just trying to different ratios. And so I started with 2 to 1, went to 3 to 1. And at the end of the day, I settled on a ratio of 4 parts white to 1 part of the safari beige, and I think it provides a really beautiful soft color, a little bit closer to my inspiration piece, not such a stark white, just a softer white. You'll see when I do it on the sides, it's just enough to kind of tone it down, but it's not yellow, it's a little bit more tan. I did 2 additional coats of the new color and it looked great. So now it's ready to work on the top. Pulled all my tape off. I did have a little bit of overspray, so I got my acetone out and got all that off. Before I taped it up, I had already done the rough sand. I'd done the 120, 180. And so now I'm just going to go over it with 220. And I decided since it's a light colored wood and it's in great condition, I'm just going to seal it. I have a matte sealer I'm going to use, so I'm going to apply it and I'll do a couple coats and it'll look great.
You ever had one of those projects where you're like, I'm done. You need to go. You need to go. That's how I feel with these drawers. Oh, I have tried the white wax, obscured the grain, took it off. I've tried the whitewash paint. It was very diluted. It just soaked it up, obscured the grain. Stripped it off. All that paint was in the wood grain, so I got that brush out with the acetone, and then I bleached them. So this morning I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna seal them. So I have a dead flat sealer from General Finishes. Put it on, gloppy mess. It must have been the bottom of the can because it was like all the solids. So it just went on like a sheet of white. I had to take that back off too. I'm like, will you stop? Stop being weird. Just work. So now I'm gonna pivot again, and I'm just gonna do. I'm gonna put a layer of shellac down because I don't want anything else getting in this wood grain. I'm gonna put a layer of shellac down. I'm gonna do a very diluted tan wash, and I'm going to seal them and see if that'll work. Here we go.
I'm going to use spray shellac and I'm going to seal these drawers. So I've done a lot to them. I've already stripped them twice, had to do the acetone and all that bleach. So I don't want to mess them up again. So I'm going to use this to seal them. Before I do my wash, I'm going to go back through and do a little bit of color correction in a couple areas in the drawers that I had to fill in with the epoxy. Just using blend all sticks from Mohawk, just simply layering it and then sealing it with their vinyl sealer. I'm going to do a really diluted tan wash with the same paint that I used on the body. This is the Safari Beige, and I'm going to apply it and see how it does. I felt like the wash was a little bit too diluted. I just added one more part of the tan and then I can apply it. You can see it's a little bit stronger. And then I'm just going to pull it off. I'm not going for a really, the whitewash was too much. It really obscured the grain. I'm just trying to kind of knock off some of the yellow and orange kind of undertones. So you can see there's the before, which is beautiful. And then there it is with the tan wash. I think it'll go really good with the painted body. So this is one of those trust the process. We'll see how it goes. After that dries, then I'm ready to come back and seal it. I am using a matte sealer. This is by Behr. It's one of their fast drying polyurethanes, and I really love the sheen that it gives. It says matte, but it has a tiny little sheen to it. I've cleaned up all the hardware, but I do like to seal it. And this is a lacquer for brass by Mohawk. And it just kind of seals it, kind of retards that process of tarnishing. One of the last steps is always going to be to clean the drawers. So I give it a really nice clean on the inside, sand off anything that needs to be sanded, and then I'm going to recondition all sides of the drawers and the inside with Danish oil. I'm going to do any touch-ups that are needed on the outsides of the drawers. I'm using that same Safari Beige that I used on the tan wash. And then I'm ready to go ahead and do some of the gilding. So I like to use, this is by Redesign by Prima. It's an eternal gold, and it's just a gold wax. It's very easy to apply. You can apply it with a glove on, but honestly, I feel like I have a better control with it with just my finger, because I think the heat from my fingers just kind of helps it move. So this will cure down in 30 days. So it does not need to be sealed. It is a wax. But I'm just kind of going over just the high points and just kind of highlighting those areas. You can apply it with a paintbrush. I just like to use it my finger because on this particular technique, I'm just simply highlighting the raised areas. I felt I needed to balance out the gold on the bottom by just highlighting a little bit on the top. There's a tiny bead molding at the very top, and I'm just going to tape that off and highlight that just to kind of tie in the gold on the top and the bottom. Did decide to go ahead and line the drawers. I love this particular wallpaper because especially if you have a large drawer like this and you have to kind of piece things together, the pattern does not overflow from side to side. It's a kind of a standalone paper, so it was really easy just to simply put in and trim. Well, let's look back at the before. This is my second French Provincial I've done. The first one was more of a modern French Provincial. This is a vintage French Provincial with all of those beautiful moldings. Obviously had a lot of damage on the top that needed to be addressed. But a beautiful piece overall, and I really was hoping to get that, wood on the drawers to shine. I was really concerned about all of that molding. But sometimes your choices are either editing it or trying to recreate it. So after all of that, creating moldings and doing paint and primer and trying to get the wood on those drawers to shine, here is the finished product. So what do you think? I like it. I think it looks a lot like my inspiration piece. The moldings, I think, look really great on the bottom. I like the gold that I added. I love the tone of the woods. I mean, that top turned out beautiful. I didn't even put any stain or anything. That's just simply sealer. And then those drawers gave me a lot of problems, but I really do like the tone. I really do like them. I think they could have gone a lot of different directions, but I think they look really good. And I do like that I put the gold on top and then I have the gold on the bottom as well. Can you tell that molding was cut off? I don't know. I don't think you can. I think it kind of works. Are you surprised? I know you were probably scared when I was chiseling that off, but I think it looks good. So enjoy some of these videos and I'll come back in a sec. Okay, so I want you to be honest. Y'all to tell me in the comments, what do you think? Do you like this one? Were you concerned when I started cutting off those moldings? I was a little bit, but I kept them because you never know if I'm going to come across another project where I'll need them. So I could use them and use it on another project. So tell me, what do you think I should ask for this one? I'm not sure. I mean, it's a all wood construction, beautiful piece. It's old. I'm not sure how old it is. It's got to be pushing 100 years old. So I love it. I think it looks a lot like the inspiration that I was going for, and that dresser was over $3,000. So I know this one's not worth $3,000, but it kind of gave me that designer dupe look that I was going for. So tell me what you think. Did you like this one? Tell me in the comments, and thanks so much for watching.